Since we were kids, textbooks have always taught us that the invention of the light bulb was the greatest turning point in history. We were led to believe that the moment artificial light sparked, humanity was finally saved from the dark, boring, and scary night. We automatically assumed that before the power grid, our ancestors would just huddle together when the sun went down, shut their eyes, and sleep in fear until morning. Basically, doing nothing at all. But let's think about it for a second. Do you really believe that over 300,000 years of evolution, the smartest species on Earth just accepted throwing away half of their lives, a full 12 hours every day, into nothingness? What the hell did our ancestors actually do in all that darkness? The answer will make you look at the light switch in your room in a completely different way. In reality, the night was never a dark prison. It was a time when our ancestors lived their deepest and freest lives. The way our civilization chased away the dark with bright lights was never a liberation, like we mistakenly thought. It was actually the greatest theft in human history, a theft that took away the only sacred time when humans were allowed to live for themselves. Look at how we live during the day, rushing, calculating, and constantly reacting to our surroundings. Our ancestors were exactly the same. The day is a time of ruthless practicality. Under the sun, the only rule is survival. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, who spent years living with primitive hunter-gatherer tribes in the Kalahari Desert, discovered a beautiful dividing line in humanity. In the daylight, 80% of human conversations are about economics and logic. What to hunt, where to gather fruits, how to divide this meat. The day is when the brain works like a data processing machine. But when the sun goes down, the world sinks into pitch black and a fire is lit. Everything completely changes. By the flickering fire, human vision is limited to a 10-meter circle. The rest of the world is swallowed by darkness. When the eyes are no longer distracted by harsh reality, imagination starts to speak. Wiesner found that at night, 81% of conversations suddenly shift to storytelling. Legends about the stars, lands no one has ever stepped foot on, and gossips that make the whole tribe laugh. Darkness disables practicality. It forces people to connect with each other through their minds. Civilization, art, and the concept of us were not born under the bright sun. They were shaped in the dark next to a campfire. But the fire is just a starting point. Humanity's deepest, freest secret lies in the core of the night when the fire has burned out. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans never went to bed and closed their eyes for 8 hours straight, like modern society forces us to today. They slept in a rhythm that we have completely lost, two-phase sleep. When the sun set, they went to sleep for about 4 hours. Then, around midnight, they would naturally wake up. This awake time, lasting 1 to 2 hours, was so common that in medical texts and diaries from centuries ago, people called it by a respectful name, the watch, or the gap between the first sleep and the second sleep. And what did they do in that absolute silence? Everything, except worry. They lay in the dark, listening to their own breathing. They whispered to the person lying next to them. They figured out the meanings of their dreams while they were still fresh in their memory. They made love, or they simply just lay there and thought. That 2-hour window in the middle of the night wasn't just a biological thing, it was a personal sanctuary. Think about it. During the day, your body belongs to the rules of survival. In later eras, your day belonged to the Lord, to the tax collectors, or to the employer. But at 2 a.m., in the quiet darkness where everything is fast asleep, your mind is not bound by anything. No Lord can tax your thoughts in the dark. No social rule can judge you. It was a time that was completely impossible to commercialize, impossible to exploit. It was the ultimate privilege of mankind, a space of absolute freedom. And of course, for a system built on productivity and wearing people out, a free time like that, which creates no material value at all, is a sin that must be wiped out. History is always written by the winners, and in the war against the night, the system told us this. Streetlights were lit to protect people. The first dim oil lamps in 17th century Paris or London were promoted as tools to chase away criminals and bring security to the streets. But that was just a perfect cover. The real motive behind this great purge of the dark has a much crueler name, the Industrial Revolution. To a steam-powered weaving machine, sunset means nothing. It doesn't need to sleep. But to the capitalist bosses of the 18th and 19th centuries, workers stopping work when the sun went down was an insult to profit. The 12 hours of darkness covering every night were redefined as dead time. That quiet, sacred time ancient humans used to reflect, love, and connect their minds, that personal sanctuary that couldn't be commercialized, in the eyes of the new economic system, was just a massive waste of resources. The system needed hands to keep working. And so artificial light was unleashed like a weapon. Gas lamps, and later Thomas Edison's great invention, the electric light bulb, didn't just light up your room, it had a much more ambitious and cruel mission. It turned the night into a second shift. For centuries before that, people followed something called a curfew. The word curfew in English actually comes from the medieval French phrase couvre-feu, literally meaning cover the fire. When the bell rang, every fire had to be put out. Darkness was absolutely respected. The night was nature's untouchable territory. But electric light tore that territory apart. In just one short generation, humanity's 300,000-year-old biological rule was completely broken. Light flooded into cramped factories, shone down to the bottom of coal mines, and later brightly lit up glass office buildings 24/7. We take pride in the fact that we conquered the dark. But the truth is, we willingly handed over our last private space to the grinding wheel of exploitation. From being creatures living in tune with the universe's rhythm, having brief pauses for our souls to breathe, humanity got locked into a never-ending cycle of productivity. The electric light bulb didn't free us from the night at all. It robbed us of the privilege of absolute rest and turned us into machines made of flesh and bone. Machines that ironically are never allowed to power off. And when your biological body tries to fight back against this destruction, the system has a second perfect trap ready for you. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors retreated into the dark not to escape life, but to truly find it. They used the night, the protection of the fire, and the quiet space between two sleeps to tell the stories that built civilization. That was when they made sense of the world and enjoyed the only space of absolute freedom in their minds that no power could invade. And us? We traded away all that sacred legacy, traded away the deepest and most peaceful state of human consciousness, just for a light switch. We boast about our bright megacities that never sleep and the constantly glowing screens in our hands, but that blinding brightness doesn't light up our souls at all. It's only blinding our purest instincts. The cruelest difference between the past and the present lies right here. Ancient humans used the night to be human, and modern humans, we use the night to desperately recover our energy, begging for an uninterrupted sleep with sleeping pills, just so we have enough strength the next morning to continue being a tool. Tonight, when you reach out to turn off the light and darkness covers your room, once again, if you suddenly wake up at 2 a.m. and find your mind drifting aimlessly, don't reach for your phone. Don't force yourself to sleep. Don't panic and curse at yourself. Just lie there in the dark and listen to the silence, because that is not a disease. That is the echo of 300,000 years of history, speaking up to remind you that in the crazy grind of a sleepless world, deep down inside, you are still a human being. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and felt that absolute freedom in your mind, just like our ancestors did? Or is the night just a rush time for you to recharge for the next day? Share your stories and thoughts in the comments below. And if this video gave you a new perspective, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our team in making more quality content. See you in the next one.